Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week, so let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, is there a new upcoming book that you're looking forward to? Let us know down in the comments. So let's take a look at some pens. Alright, so from left to right, we have the Rexpen Brown, a Lamy 2000, Montblanc 225, two Pilot Custom 823s, a Parker 51, the original, a Visconti, sorry, I always struggle because I want to say Opera Elements and I just saw the word opera there, but it's actually a Visconti Gold Point number 1. And finally, a Parker Ellipse. As always, I will be doing my writing sample in this Cognitive Surplus journal. Alright, so the first pen is this Rexpen. I was told in the comments when I did the video that this is actually a Diplomat. Let me just see if I can get more light on that. Feels a lot darker than usual. Yeah, that helped a little. Anyway, this is a Rexpen. I called it a Rexpen Brown, but several people in the comments on the video called it a Rexpen Diplomat. So let's look at it. And by the way, when I recorded the video, I had a cartridge stuck up in here, and it is now dislodged. I remember complaining about it being kind of rough, but it's not anymore. And so, I did a little bit of nib smoothing, mainly by straightening the tines. So Rexpen Diplomat, the ink in it is Krishna pencil. It's part of a huge bag of Krishna inks that I was sent a few years ago, and I am just slowly working my way through them. They're all samples, which is kind of nice. When I meet one that's not really a winner, I can just say, well, better luck next time. A little sad when I meet one that is a winner, and then I have to say, oh, I kind of like that, except I'm not buying inks right now. But I write it down maybe someday when I get this ink collection reduced a little bit. And I kind of wonder, just because of the color, if possibly, is there something else? Maybe I didn't clean the barrel well enough? I just don't know. Not the barrel, the section. My next pen, Lamy 2000. Amber black. This has a nice oblique broad nib. And the ink in it is Rohrer and Klingner. Verdura. I think it's a very nice green. It's just, some fountain pen greens are just kind of fake looking or candy-like. And this one, I don't know, it's just a little, it's not like a super natural green, but it's just a nicer green. I haven't inked this up in a while, but I have a Montblanc 225. I think it was sort of Montblanc's answer to the Lamy 2000, with the Macrolon finish here. I just emptied out a pen with this ink in it. Plus it's an ink that's almost empty, so I thought, hey, let's use it up in the next pen. This is Colorverse Golden Record. And I will admit, not one of my favorites in that collection, because it came in a box of 4 inks. But it's grown on me, kind of like fungus, as I've been working my way through the bottle. Is it one I would replace? No. There's 2 others in that collection I really like. There's a pale blue dot, and there's a Jupiter Flyby that have much nicer colors. But I appreciate this one, and one thing I've discovered is, it actually has a little bit of a color change. My next pen is a Pilot Custom 823. This pen is, it does seem dark under the screen. I don't know what I did wrong this week, but I'm probably thinking about my trip and didn't set something up right. Anyway, this is a good kind of workhorse pen. It's holds a lot of ink. It's actually useful, like, if I'm traveling somewhere. This is one I'm pretty sure isn't going to run out of ink. The ink in it is actually, I just learned, is discontinued. Let's squirt this up here a little bit. Apparently Iroshizuku discontinued several inks, but I only own one of them. And let's be honest, I've never seen anything about this ink particularly that stands out to me. I could take or leave it, honestly. So this is another one that you might be seeing a lot of just as I try to use it up. Or who knows, maybe I'll hoard it and hope that what's left in the bottle will be worth a fortune someday. But I'm not going to do that. I'm probably not going to do either one, because why punish myself? It's just not an ink I care for. Next pen has an ink that I do care for. This is a Pilot Custom 823 with a broad nib and a really nice ink in it. Introduced to me thanks to that bag of samples. And I just liked this one because it shades. It's got this light purple, but then it shades to an almost black. And and then the name is just so evocative. So it's Krishna, not Winter's Night, Writer's Night. What's a writer's night? I kind of picture sitting, looking out a picture window when it's storming and it's night, then there's a lot of lightning out there. Okay, that's my picture. You can have your own picture of a writer's night. Maybe you're thinking of being cozied up with your fountain pen in front of the fireplace, but this purple does not bring that out to me. I see something more dramatic. Just realized I forgot to turn on the side view camera, but we're just going to live with that. This pen I bought mostly to kind of complete my collection. This is a Parker 51, the original kind. It's holding one of my favorite inks, which is discontinued, by the way. The ink is Montegrappa Bordeaux. I have found there are a few inks that are sort of in this family that I like well enough, so when I use this bottle up, which sadly will be soon. Oops. Oh. Okay, so hooded nib. I think I was rubbing there. Ooh. Definitely rubbing there. Oh, we're a leaky bugger tonight, aren't we? I'm not used to that with this pen. Whoops. Oh, we are leaking like a sieve. Yeah. Huh. Alright, so that's a problem to solve, but probably not tonight. Maybe it'll quit, I don't know. Okay, won't be taking this pen out of the house. I'm not sure whether it's going to have an accident or not. You can replace the sacks, so maybe it's got a hole in it, I don't know. Or Maybe I was just too enthusiastic filling it, and now it's going to behave normally. Are you normal? Well, we'll find out as I write with it. Haven't seen a problem, but apparently it's in one of those moods. Fun of vintage pens. And yet I love them. This one's not terribly vintage. This is a Visconti Gold Point #1. I bought it originally thinking it was an Opera Elements Air, which is a pen I've always wanted ever since I saw Stephen Brown review on different Opera Elements. But sadly, those have a metal section, and I don't like those. I've been doing a lot of letter writing today. I had today off from work. Just trying to catch up on my pen pals. I'm not done yet, but I wrote a few pens dry. So I didn't have to decide exactly what was going to be in this video tonight, because they selected themselves out. Colorverse Interstellar Space. Another one that's close to running out, that I won't particularly miss. You know, in this pen, it shows very nice shading, but it's just not a particular favorite of mine. It's not a terribly great green, and you know, that color does not scream interstellar space to me. I don't know about you, but it doesn't to me. Just going to go back for a second to this Parker 51. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to ink now. So, I think it just had, I don't know, burp. I think Parker 51s can burp just like any other pen. We're probably going to have some Montegrappa Bordeaux. Oh, actually we don't. We'll put this under the page just in case. I put a little cloth under the page in case it gets the urge to bleed through. Okay, and my last pen is the Parker Ellipse, because it has an ellipse on the cap. This ink isn't a very matchy-matchy choice to the color of the pen, but it's an ink I like. This is Parker Quink. Blue-black. You know, blue-black was kind of my gateway drug into blue inks. I've never been particularly a fan of blue, but blue-black helped. And I said Parker. This is not Parker. This is Pilot. I apologize. I can smell it now, because Pilot inks kind of have a distinctive smell. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. And in one case, the Parker 51 that I just inked up this evening, as I ran out of pens. I might be doing some traveling on a side note here. And it's going to be super cold one day, and I will be out of the car for a bit. And I just feel like leaving fountain pens in that environment may not be so terribly clever. So I do have this I can keep my fountain pens in, and I figure they can just ride inside my coat while I'm walking around. You know, it's not like I'm going to be doing any crazy hiking at this time of year, so we'll see how that does. Alright, so those are the fountain pens and inks I've been using this week. Just on a couple side notes, I showed you this during the video because I was planning to actually film this part from Leeds, South Dakota. I was going to be like, Yeah, this is why it's late, because I wanted, to surprise you a little. Surprise! I'm not in Leeds, South Dakota. The weather forecast said 6 to 10 inches of snow down there, Sunday night through Monday morning, and I thought, yeah, my Toyota Camry isn't going to enjoy that, especially in a town like Leeds where all the streets are like this. So I decided to stay home. And guess what? They're not going to get nearly that much snow down there. But we are here. So we may possibly have no school on Tuesday. We'll see. If school is canceled on Tuesday, I know it's a weird day of the week and some of you might be at work. But I will promise you that I will do a live stream on Tuesday. I will announce it in the community tab Tuesday morning, one way or the other, once I know. If I get to work before it's announced, I'll be a little pissed off, but, So, anyway, one of the topics I mentioned earlier on is books. So I saw a video about a gentleman named Smedley Butler, and I've brought him up on this channel before. Smedley Butler is a great American hero. And I'll tell you briefly why, but I'll just name the book here before I forget. So there's an upcoming book that I have pre-ordered. It's called Gangsters of Capitalism, Smedley Butler and the Marines and the Making and Breaking of America's Empire by Jonathan M. Katz. So I am looking to purchase that book when it's released. So I put a video interview with the author down below, and it also includes an extended clip of Smedley Butler. So who is Smedley Butler and why am I calling him a great American hero? Smedley Butler was a Marine Force general, and I would say a true patriot and a true American. And so let me tell you why. In the 1930s, the United States was in a lot of trouble. We were in the grip of the Great Depression, mass unemployment. We saw fascism on the rise across Europe, Germany, Italy, and I think Spain was still in the midst of becoming a fascist country, with Franco. And I can't remember if Greece was on that list, but anyway, fascism was on the rise across Europe, and in the Soviet Union, we had a guy named Stalin who was taking power, and just things were looking dark. And they got worse because, we had a Second World War, but that's not what this video is about. So there was a man who ran for president and won the election who promised that things would get better. I think he was the one with Happy Days Are Here Again, was one of his songs. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he ran kind of on a left-wing... I say kind of. He ran on a left-wing platform, and he won, and started instituting some left-wing policies, like Social Security and a lot of programs. I don't need to get into the whole history right now, because that's not what this is about. Well, certain industrialists were not pleased with that, and they wanted to put a stop to it. And a lot of these industrialists were kind of inspired by the rise of fascism in Europe. And, they thought, hey, things are looking pretty up in Germany there and the other countries. And, this is all historical. You'll see names of present-day politicians or present-day companies were supporters of these fascists. And, to be fair, they weren't aware of what would later happen with the mass extermination of certain classes of human being. But anyway, so they wanted a popular uprising to march on the Capitol and, if not depose the government, put the government in its place. And they thought, we need somebody who's right to take charge. Somebody respected by the people. And they came up with General Smedley Butler. And he had a very distinguished career both in the First World War, which at that time there had only been one World War, and in a lot of campaigns before that. Fortunately, General Smedley Butler was a patriot, and he turned him in. He did not go along with it, and democracy survived, and all down to him. So the video has an extended clip of him speaking, but I'm very interested to read the book. I just want to know more about this man. I will talk about it at some point after I've gotten the book, and I can talk the history more clearly, because I wasn't planning an extended talk on Smedley Butler today. But anyway, the important thing is, I'm looking forward to reading the book. And this is a man who saved this country. Another article that came up this week, it was actually a video I saw. It was a reporter who was going on about the substitute teacher shortage. I'm sure you've heard about National Guard members. Sorry, just check and make sure I'm in frame and in focus. And this is the second time I filmed this, because the first time I filmed it, it's all audio because somebody forgot to turn on that camera. But anyway, I'm sure you've read about New Mexico putting National Guard members into classrooms as substitute teachers. And in some states, they're having government officials substitute teach because they've got so many teachers out for sickness, and just such a shortage of teachers and a shortage of substitute teachers. And so this is their way of fixing it, rather than look at how we can do a long-term fix to the situation. But anyway, this reporter said, well, how hard can it be? So he decided to go substitute teach for one day. And I just thought, one day doesn't, especially in a carefully curated classroom, because they know it's going to be on TV, does not tell you anything about substitute teaching. I substitute taught for a while at the beginning of my career, because I finished college in fall of 1998. And yeah, there's not many schools hiring at Christmas time. So I did end up getting a job, but it didn't start until fall of 1999, so I was kind of at a loose end for a semester. So I substitute taught at my old high school and two neighboring high schools. And some days were better than others. None of them were too horrible. I had a lot to learn back then about managing a classroom, but my problems were generally more about they talk too much rather than what some people go through. But anyway, some subs are better than others. I taught at one school, not my current one, so if you're a sub here, don't think I'm talking about you, because I'm not. But I taught at one school where I had a sub come in for a day, and I was so upset by everything that had happened in that day, which nothing got mentioned in his notes to me, that I told my principal that I don't care how sick I am, if I have to carry a bucket around to throw up in, I will come to school if that man is my substitute teacher. I could tell you the stories and curl your hair, but I won't. And some subs just kind of have that, just like some teachers manage a classroom better than others. And but I generally find kids act up a lot more for a substitute teacher, especially if it's one they know where they can get away with it. And one day just doesn't give you that experience. And, just imagine a substitute teacher, you walk into a classroom in some subject you've never taught, aren't that familiar with, and, oh yeah, the teacher left no plans. So, good luck on that. So, anyway, I just put it up there because he dipped his toes in. He had no idea. I also have an article up about a South Carolina man from Charleston, South Carolina, who was exiled, because I put it in air quotes, to Fargo because he lost in his football pool. Now, I don't quite get football pools. I don't know exactly how they work. I just know that this guy came in last place. And this football pool, whoever's in last place, gets exiled by the other pool members to somewhere cold. So this year they picked Fargo, North Dakota, which he apparently had never heard of. So he gets on the airplane, and as he's flying to Fargo, he switches airplanes in Chicago and starts talking to a guy who it turns out is a teacher from Grand Forks Central High School, which is the city north of Fargo. And so this teacher put him in touch with several of his friends who lived in Fargo, and he ended up getting involved in all kinds of things, like dropping the hockey puck to start a hockey game, going to different basketball games, I think football was one of the games. Anyway, all kinds of different things. The only thing he really wasn't ready for, it was 80 degrees when he left Charleston, South Carolina. It was 0 degrees when he landed in Fargo, North Dakota. That's not even cold for Fargo, because that's a frigid wasteland over there. And so, yeah, he said he had never experienced cold like that in his life. But apparently, if you read the article, he enjoyed himself enough that he's going to try and get his friends from the football pool to come up next fall sometime. So I thought that was kind of a fun story. And then just a couple other things I wrote down that I thought I would bring up. I decided to, I've got some vintage pens and things that I'll be reviewing, but I decided I want to review some low-cost pens that you don't see too much on YouTube. So, I don't have any of the Schaefer pens here yet, but I bought a Parker Jotter fountain pen. I've reviewed the old version of it, but the new version is different, so I'm going to review that. I have a Parker Vector, which is a totally redesigned pen from what I've owned and used. And I have a Waterman Allure, which I know nothing about. One thing I will say is I noticed the Waterman Allure and the Parker Vector both arrive in the exact same box. It's just one says Waterman, the other one says Parker. But they're owned by the same parent company, which I want to say is Newell Rubbermaid. But anyway, I think it's important for these pen makers to remember that low-cost niche, because that's where your new pen buyers come from. Doesn't matter how good your Parker Dual-Fold is if people don't even know the name Parker. So that's why I thought I got to give that a whirl. So I've got a couple Schaefers I'm going to try out. And yeah, I wasn't planning on buying any pens. Bought several that were kind of pricey. So I just got a check about a week ago, I think. Anyway, recently from YouTube. So that's check is getting spent on a bunch of low-cost pens instead of going into my account where it should go if I was a responsible person. But anyway, I'm kind of excited to try these out. I even have a Pilot. I don't remember its name, but a low-cost Pilot on the way. So I had a comment here on one of my videos where they just made the remark that, well, I guess me having to sit through these stupid ads gives somebody some benefit. I'll tell you what, the advertising is going to happen regardless, because if I don't advertise, if I don't monetize the channel, YouTube can still come in and advertise. They were doing it before I monetized the channel. That's part of why I monetized it, because they said, well, if they're advertising on it anyway, I might as well get some benefit out of it. So I monetized it, and I get a little bit of benefit. Now, my philosophy is that any money that comes into the channel gets spent on the channel. Sometimes it's gear. You're watching me through a piece of that gear right now, and listening to me through a piece of that gear. Sometimes it's pens. But it has to go to this channel. So, that's what happens with the advertising dollars that I make. It's not going to buy me, a new roof or anything. It is purely dedicated to the channel. I also had somebody email me about comment censoring, and it was just a misunderstanding. It was one of those things where YouTube ate the comment. Who knows? It could be one of those comments that shows up like 3 months or 2 years later. I'm like, that's an old comment. Wonder where that came from. Because I have a view that I can see all the comments and all the ones I haven't replied to. But every so often I just get several show up that are very old on that list. Don't know why. Some weird little bug in YouTube. And sometimes YouTube just eats the comments. I've had any number of my own comments eaten. But anyway, he just asked me, because I guess he'd made some kind... I don't know what he said, because I've never read it. But he was worried because he'd made some kind of a joke that maybe had been inappropriate, and he defended me. So, actually, we had a nice little email exchange. I don't censor comments. I will delete a few, but it is very rare. Basically, you've got to say something pretty horrible for me to delete you. I don't care if you criticize me. I don't care if you criticize what I do. I don't care if you disagree with me. whatever. I respond to... So far, my channel is small enough I can respond to all comments. A couple of my respond with kind of a snarky response, but whatever. As far as censorship, you gotta say something pretty awful for me to delete it. Or advertise. Try out our deluxe line of pens. Yeah, you're getting deleted. So I don't allow advertising, and I delete, the really horrible comments using certain words or just really horrific descriptions of certain classes of people. I'll take those out. But anyway, I don't censor. And I'm kind of wondering, part of why censorship is on my mind is after I get done filming this, I've got another video to film this afternoon that I've been putting off for a few years, and I'll talk about it there. But, years ago, I took a trip, long before I'd ever heard of COVID, took a trip to Minot, North Dakota for a class, and I did driving videos. I skipped part of it. The part to get up to the interstate, I drive all the time. So, it's 60 miles that never change. So I cut that part of it out. But anyway, I filmed a series of driving videos of my footage of getting to Minot. We had a nice storm on the way. I did one video where I talked about Lois Lenski's, Prairie School. I did one video about changes recently, actually, that took us into Minot. But I'll tell you what put the kibosh on it was, as I was making the driving footage, there was an event in Minot that was pretty horrible. And I just I'm going to have to address that. It's old enough news now that I no longer have that feeling. But at that time, it's just I don't know how to address that. And it stopped driving videos dead for 2 years at least. During the lockdown, I had all kinds of time. I could have done driving videos, but this ick just stalled it. So, I'm going to address it and move on. It's just this weird thing with me. I had to complete that driving to Minot footage before I could move on to a different piece of footage. So, I'm going to complete it. So, the completion may or may not be to your taste. I'll give you a content warning now. And when I get that video uploaded, I will give you a content warning before I film it. Because it's not nice. So, anyway, on happier notes, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And again, happy! What's a book you're excited about? Let us know down in the comments. So I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.